Uh, Thanks for the folks that are here, and as more come in, we'll catch them up a little bit. This is not a very complicated subject matter, but there are three paths to prosperity for realtors to increase their revenue. Um, so that's kind of the topic of discussion today, and basically, what I have been pitching with Ryan here to agents is, if you get your mortgage license, well, let me first off start with here. To get your mortgage license is a little bit of an ask, right? It's not nothing. So you have to do more CE, and there's more fees. So the question is, if you were to open these three options to increase your revenue, is it worth it? Is the squeeze worth the juice? So, I lay out some costs that are involved, and once you clear that hurdle and you're licensed, you're ready to go. The first option of the juice, right after the cost, after all the time spent to pass a little test, the first option is option A. You're able to essentially keep referring business to a loan officer like myself, and you're technically the loan officer on it, even though you referred it. And then I'm technically the assistant, air quotes, and I'm doing all the work, but that'll allow me to legally pay you essentially a referral fee. In this example, it's 50 basis points, which is 0.5%. Average loan size is about 300,000, so that's about $1,500. And that's, kind of just a little pad, a tip, a cherry on top. And to me, it might be for some, but to me, that's not really worth it. Just my personal opinion that the juice would have to be much greater than that for me to have interest. But if that's something that is interest to you, that is certainly one of the options. Option B is writing loans is not rocket science. It's actually a pretty simple process to learn. And so rather than referring them at all, you could do the work. Right now, we were just talking, interest rates are coming down. You'd be able to get in front of a little refi boom that is expected to be occurring. Refinances are easier to write than purchases. There's no deadline of we have to close by this date. There's no other, the seller side. You're essentially selling it to yourself. It's half of the work, and it's the same income. So option B, if you wanted to write loans, you'd be able to get, in this example, 2.2% of the loan amount. So at 300,000 would be $6,600. And you do that over and over again, just like every time you sell a house, you get a paycheck. But those two options, option A and option B, you're still, putting on your hard hat and going to work and doing the work. So for me, option C is really the basis of why I am, presenting this offer. So a little bit about me. I'm a former now broker owner of a mortgage shop that I would have bet $1 million I would not have walked away from being a broker owner of my company to go and do this for another company. But that's what I did because they built the perfect, I call it the perfect mousetrap. And so the world's going to beat a path to their doorstep. It's just up to us to let people know about it. And so the option here is they pay on a 3-level basis, right? So if I refer somebody to whether they're a real estate agent or a loan officer. Now, obviously, the real estate agents would have to get licensed to participate in this. But if they do, then for every loan that closes in my team, which is 3 levels deep, and I can, it's unlimited wide. So you can refer as many people as you'd like. But for every loan that closes, you get paid 4% of the broker check, which is typically $200 to $500, depending on the loan size. And, just an example of how that's working in real life. The guy that shared this to me, he has 70 people in his team, actually 73 people in his team. He averages $20,000 in monthly reoccurring revenue off of those 73 people. So of that, the 200, so I did the math here. That's each person in his downline is paying him $274 on average. That would create a broker check to, of those, if you divide that out, that means each one of them is getting a broker check of just under $7,000 per month, which is basically one deal per person. So I found that to be a pretty low bar. When I was looking at that, it was something that got my mind moving a little bit. But what really excited me was I figured out that these guys are doing the recruiting part wrong, and that I can do it better by not only just, so what they're currently doing right now is, this is zero competition. What they're really doing is they're going out to folks to talk about option A. They call it a RELO program, real estate loan officer program, and they're just pitching option A. But the option C is where I think the opportunity is, where you'll be able to, as real estate agents, rather than option A referring the business to me, which great, I'd love to do the loan for you. But in option C, you don't have to make a new relationship with me. You recruit your current favorite loan officers to doing the same thing, and then you keep working with them. And this creates a bit of a paradigm shift. So I'm sure, as many of you are aware, you've been referring business, over the years to these people, and it's just kind of been a river that flows from you to them. You get very little in return. It's kind of, you might get a thank you card, buy you a coffee or some chicken wings, but the money is really flowing from the real estate agent to the lender. But if you do it this way, if you recruit that lender that you're working with, and they're working under you and your team, then not only will you get that 50 basis points, about $1,500 per deal that you're doing, but you'll also get paid on every single loan that they close. So whether that's a refinance or they're working with some other real estate agent, you're going to get a piece of that because it's in your team. And being that it's only, between $200 and $500 per deal that they're closing, I don't really look at that as like it's changing the paradigm. I think it just kind of puts you on equal footing, just my personal perspective. And so that's definitely what I would do. But then also, this is very easy to share with other real estate agents to show that they have these 3 different options. Option to get the $1,500, write their own loans, but the recruiting part, everybody knows real estate agents and loan officers that want to make more money. So that's really what we're looking for, is to find people that want to make more money. And this is something that offers it. So going through here, I had another, I'm not reading these. And this is my first time using these cards. So I'm just looking at this to see if I missed anything. I really didn't. But the other thing that I'm offering here is when we're talking about, building a team, a lot of people would be a little bit hesitant because they don't know enough about the lending side to share it. So for that, I would just say introduce anybody interested to me and I would explain it for you. So any questions that they might have, I would be happy to take over and explain it from A to Z, what this will look like for them. And then also an option that we have to help with recruiting is we offer an invitation. I think we do this every other month where we'll fly real estate agents and loan officers out to the UWM headquarters. I don't know, many of you might have already been for a different reason, but it's out in Pontiac, Michigan, just north of Detroit. So those are just kind of the tools that are available to recruit. And so with that, I would like to answer any questions that you might have, get a little bit more conversation going. Is this something that you guys have been thinking about? Is this something that you've heard before? And is this something that you could see yourself doing? Just keep continuing to do your day-to-day, sell real estate, but in the back of your mind, you run across another real estate agent or a loan originator that might want to make a few extra bucks. Either introduce them to me and I'll close them on your behalf. As you learn the system more, you'd be able to present it yourself.
Say, I don't know who in the company is on here. I'd have to look at the list, but I know we got a lot of competent people here that already do their own loans. And so you mentioned that as option B, right? Just to be your own originator.
What's that?
Well, was option B be your own originator? We've got a lot of agents here that are competently doing their own loans.
Yeah, so option B is you're doing your own loans, and working with this particular lender. They start you off at 2.2% or 220 basis points of the loan amount, with the option where if you had your team volume greater than 2 million per month, that you get 100% of the broker check, which would be either 2.75% of the loan amounts or up to 3% of the loan amount.
Right. And so I think one of the things I was going to point out is that if anybody chose this company to broker their loans at, regardless of the program that they decide, like if you guys would either get a license because you feel like it makes financial sense, you can do your own loans, or you can refer them to somebody else in the company to do, like either bring your own loan officer or have somebody else do them. And then what do you pay for that? Like a point?
It's half a point.
Half a point to have somebody else do the loan. So that's a pretty decent payout. And then you're not doing the work, but the other ability. So the other companies don't have the ability like this company's been designed where. So if you're going to do loans somewhere, they're all kind of, everybody's going through, what is it, WMU?
Yeah, UWM. Yeah.
Yeah. And so everybody seems to be tying up with them to run their loans through. So it's like no matter what brokerage you pick, they wind up using WMU as their backbone to get to the bank's money. And so it's like, well, this other added opportunity of the ability to say, like, like if Peter was going to do loans and I said, well, why don't you just hang your license here? I guess whoever referred him would get a check every time he closes a loan too, because this company grew so fast because they made a little bit of a hierarchy that's like a kind of an EXP, or back when National Realty Guild was going to offer that stuff with that Jeff Kent Schneider. It just got too cumbersome for us because we don't have any high commission splits to split up any money, but the model works. And so they're a large company now. And so that's just an added benefit. So it's like, if anybody here is doing loans or thinking of doing loans anyways, there's no reason not to seek out interviewing this Nexa as one of the options to hold the license with. because they have the added benefit of being able to refer somebody.
And then, as you had mentioned in another conversation we had, an added benefit as a real estate agent is you'd have full transparency of seeing where the loan is at, what conditions are currently outstanding, and that gives a much more transparent conversation between you and your originator to say what is going on here. This is saying we're still looking for this, like this exact condition. What does this mean? How do we solve it? And then you can have a much more direct conversation about where you're at with your transaction.
Yeah, so we considered opening up a branch here again because he used to have national loan brokerage over a decade ago. And one of the things I've been looking at recently is, when you guys are getting your deals done, or say you're a listing rep and you just have you think you're getting jerked around by a buyer's agent because they're not able to close on time. When these loan officers call me all the time, I'm like, well, have you called the loan officer? Because I'm going to guarantee it's a loan problem. And we're realtors, we write paperwork. And so they're like, oh, I better go call the loan officer. And then they find out there's underwriting conditions. So they don't have to go through the realtor to get to the loan officer. But if we have like the branch of mortgage brokerage, we can go in and look right at the underwriting conditions and see why a deal's held up. So if you're representing a buyer, you'd have firsthand information of that. And then on listing sides, it makes it a little bit easier because somebody could call me and I could look at the steps myself and decide how to answer the question. They're saying this guy can't close on time, guy can't close on time. So it eliminates a lot of stress when buyers use a company that you can have the access to that. And obviously, if you're one of the loan officers there, you have the access. So then the next thing is, I don't know if Kenny, if you said, great, this all sounds fun and stuff like that, but potential extra cash, but is it worth my time is a question.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's really the, at the beginning where I talk about the different costs and things. So pre-licensing, the cost of pre-license will be anywhere from, I think I saw it as low as $90 all the way up to over $500 if you want to do like an in-class live kind of a thing. Depends on how good of a test taker you are, I think. But pre-licensing varies. It's typically, I'd say, $200 to $300. And then beyond that, taking the test, if you pass it, I think you have to pay like a $75 for the license. And then, with the company that I'm with, once you're initiating, they have a setup fee that's just under $200. I think it was like $170 or something like that when I joined. And then they have special software that's mandated that you have to have in order to be a loan originator. Again, that's just with the company I'm with. And it's just under $80. I think it's like $75 a month.
Hey, if anybody does have an interest, remember NRG gets those at the CE shop. NRG gets those we get those promos that Jeremy posts all the time. So I mean, someone can wait until there's a 40% off. I'm kind of looking up what the class costs right now at nrg100.theceshop.com. Here, I'll put it in the line.
And
yeah, Talia, this is Nexa.
Yes, that's where I'm at. Yeah. I was going to say there's also free options that show up. Like, I'm sure there's tons of free CE classes for real estate agents. We run into it all the time as lenders. I'll be taking a trip later this month where one of the days they offer is a free CE thing. UWM offers free courses. They fill up. So they're doing one this month, but it's already full, but they'll be doing them again. And so if you were thinking, I want to test the waters more passively, you'd be able to wait for one of those free options to at least get your pre-licensing done. I don't think it's that big of a hill to climb to do a couple $100 or $80 or whatever to get your pre-licensing, if this is something that you wanted to do. But then I also have the option, if you wanted to do this with me, I would allow you to recruit other people before you get licensed, where you can start recruiting literally today. Introduce me to people that you want to recruit, and I will help you get them on board. And then retroactively, after we have a bunch of people signed up, or one or anybody signed up, I would be able to retroactively place you ahead of them in the team pay scale. So that's just another option to consider.
Is anybody here familiar with, sorry, Ryan, with Jason Borster?
Yeah.
You can raise your hand or whatever, you know, if you got time, if you're paying attention. But a few years back, we're helping agents quite a bit get their license so that they could do loans. And then a lot of times what would happen is Jason would just wind up doing the loan so the agent could focus on selling and he would learn all the programs. And then I don't know what the split was, because Jason had 100% mortgage brokerage, where kind of like our model. And so I was going to open one also over the last 5 years. I just got other things to do, right? We're selling real estate. So I didn't do it, but we wound up getting a lot of agents licensed, or, you know, at least half a dozen licensed over with Jason. And the difference here is, like, I'm going out with Jason on a boat here in a couple of weeks, and, you know, he's good. He's got his model, but the difference, I'd say, you know, his 100% program, I guess it's kind of like, I mean, our 100% program, but the real estate side of things is what we already are doing, right? And so with this, with Nexa and all these trainings and CEs and things like that, their whole corporate structure, especially with the partner, you know, there's a lot more infrastructure for somebody to be a part of. So if you guys do get a license, it's just, you know, you look at each company and decide if they have what you need to get by with your license.
So I did work for Jason's company for a while, Executive Mortgage Brokers. I was with him when it was still Minnesota Mortgage Group.
Yep.
And so I'm very familiar. He pays 2.75% of the loan amount minus a flat fee, which it varies. I don't know what it's at right now. It might have been reduced. So I'm not going to speak to it because I don't know what it is. But it's a very good compensation. And so from there, I would have stayed with him, but I moved from Minnesota to Texas, and he couldn't add Texas as a state to do business in because he was caught up in an audit in the state of Wisconsin. And while you're in an audit, you're not able to add states. And that's what prompted me to start my own company down here in Texas. And so I grew that with some, you know, loan originators, and things are going great. But what got me to switch to Nexa is, rather than working independently, to be able to work collaboratively with a lot of different people and create this other stream of income is going to more than make up for anything that I would have lost being a broker owner. Not having, you know, making 100% plus Nexa as a company. This is just a niche, and I'm not trying to push them too hard. You know, do your own research, but they will pay you 100% if your team volume is greater than 2 million per month, which is, I would say, a low bar. If, you know, I've many months I've made more than 2 million in volume personally, but then to add additional people that are going to be active, you know, working on your team, it's a pretty low bar to hit, to where you're going to be making that full 2.75, or if you do it correspondent, you can make 3% of the loan amount, which is greater than you can do over at Jason's shop. Not a slam on him. I like Jason a lot. I like the company. But really, I think their business model is stuck on option B with no option C. And so again, the guy that recruited me had 73 people on his team, and that was an additional $20,000 a month. I'm looking at this opportunity at you know, a landscape where nobody is really offering this in. I think they're offering it wrong, and I think it can be pitched a lot better. And so, if we're able to offer this to a landscape of real estate agents who are facing the NAR settlement, where their income is a little bit, you know, timing of this is perfect to introduce this to real estate agents. Real estate agents can provide a much greater leverage than I have as a salesperson, as a loan officer, to say, hey, other loan officer, come do this, rather than a real estate agent that has a relationship with a lender that says, hey, I'd like to try doing this, and I'd really like you to do it with me, right? That's going to be a much better, a stronger pitch, and that's going to be what is going to grow my team, and is why we're here today.
Yeah, I got a comment. If you guys are done, I'll just introduce myself real quick. I've known Randy and Kenny both for a long time, so you might wonder who this bald guy is doing on camera and hasn't said anything. But I'm licensed as an agent. I cut my teeth early on in the mortgage industry, and I haven't done mortgages for a long time. I had no desire to. And I do a lot of investing and commercial stuff nowadays. But Kenny and I have my real estate license, like I said, but Kenny called me with this opportunity. And I think so the big opportunity here for real estate agents, what I finally saw, and now it's glowing, is the option C, where our goal is to get up to 10, 20, $30,000 a month ASAP very quickly. And so not to get caught up in the minutia of like A and B and how much does it cost? How many hours do you have to do? It's just kind of like something that just needs to be done. Like if you want to get your driver's license, you just got to pay the deal, go through the classes, and then so the big payoff is getting your driver's license, right? So you can drive around and you're free. So when Kenny, it took me a couple days, but finally I got it. And so now I'm all in as a real estate agent, but we are going to be going out and recruiting a ton of real estate agents, because it's going to have such a viral effect. Like Kenny says, that nobody's really pitching this to real estate agents the correct way. They're all going after loan officers saying, hey, leave what you're doing and come over here, rather than, as agents, we all know a ton of other agents. We get them on board, and then they've got leverage on their loan officers to come over. So, and the thing is too, is really important, is you just have to make introductions, because we've already got it set up where we'll convert them for you until you're so good at it and so confident that'll just be a really easy conversation. So something like this type of an atmosphere, we're here to like build out your team, so to speak, as fast as possible, as fast as you can run, basically, right? We're right there along with you. So that's the huge opportunity I see. And you just keep doing business the way you're doing. I'm not stopping anything else on everything else I have going. It's just like, there's a huge opportunity that very quickly. And then once people kind of catch on what's going on with, oh, this is how you pitch it to real estate agents, that makes a lot of sense, and it'll kind of catch on. So we just want to, I think I give Kenny the credit because he brought this to me. I'm like, oh, this actually makes a hell of a lot of sense. Like, just, you can, I don't want to do any loans. A and B, I don't want to touch a loan ever again. I just want to basically recruit people, sell real estate, and then let that kind of keep building on its own. So
Yeah, so then you
that's
just
kind
have
of
to
my 2
refer your
cents.
loans to Kenny and get a half a point on each one.
Right.
Yeah. I just don't want to get caught up in the minutia of like, hey, you could get this or you could get this. And, the big picture is, let's just recruit a bunch of people that are doing business and get way ahead of the curve, and get you guys all up to 10, 20, 30 grand a month, and keep doing the business you're doing. But of course, you don't have to do it through this. There's other companies, of course, that offer. Kenny has the groundwork laid out where it's going to be very easy to convert. So don't think you know, you got to go to a listing presentation and you don't know what the heck you're doing, right? All you got to do is make the contact. We'll close them for you, get the listing, get them to sign, basically.
Yeah, so that's
So,
just
yeah.
one aspect of this, because you guys, any
Right.
agent can basically go get a license and call up whoever their favorite loan officer is licensed at, and that company will probably hire them, because now you're licensed, you have a legal way to get paid when you refer that place a loan. So
Yeah,
you can do it
absolutely.
anywhere. I've had banks come here and offer us to be like paid salary as managers, because then the agents, we can get them licensed, and you guys could hold your license at that bank and then wind up getting paid to have the LO do the loan. It's the same concept. It's just that this group has created a hierarchy where there's an additional income, and the loan officers are still getting paid the same amount they would if they were like at that bank. So let's see. I know that there's 2 questions on here.
And you
And
might know agents, you probably do know agents in other areas too, other states. You can say, hey, what are you doing? You know, are you
yeah,
doing this? Get
potentially.
on board. So it's basically nationwide.
Lynn Condo's asked something maybe Kenny can say. She thinks loans are in conflict of interest for realtors to do on the same transaction, but they're not, except
Yeah,
if it's a government loan. So if
that
you want
used
to
to
answer
be
her
the
question.
case. It still might be the case if you do an FHA loan with a in-house lender, a retail lender. I think that's still the case where HUD has a rule that doesn't allow it. It does not apply to a wholesale lender. And so I'm with Nexa as a wholesale lender. Any lender like Jason, anyone that's working with UWM is a wholesale lender. They're the largest wholesale lender. But because the underwriting is not in-house, it's an advantage where you can do both, even an FHA loan. It's never a conflict for a conventional loan or any other loan besides FHA. But if you do it wholesale, you can do an FHA loan and be the real estate agent. There's no legal conflict.
I'd say one of the main reasons I'm in business is because back in 2002 we opened, and then probably in 2003 I had a guy come over and help me make a mortgage company. And so we were writing mortgages and real estate at the same time. So we had a lot of agents. We'd switch people from FHA to conventional so that we could legally do it. And then the pay was there. And so, I mean, all of a sudden you got 2.5 points on real estate and maybe 2.5 on the loan, or 1.5, whatever it pans out to. It really helped us stay in business and be profitable.
Right.
And beyond that, I think just that option C of being able to introduce people over, it would eventually or hopefully quickly far surpass anything you have to worry about, right? So if you bring on a bunch of people, there's no legal compliance necessarily there, because you're not part of the transaction. You're just bringing people over, and I think that's like the big powerful thing. Yeah, we can, like I said, we can get caught up in like each little transaction, and if you feel like it's a conflict of interest, just pass it to somebody else, but
Right. But for option A, right,
yeah.
where you're getting the 50 basis points, you are the loan officer and you are the real estate agent. So the question is valid. And
Yeah.
the answer is that it is absolutely compliant. There is no legal reason why you would not do it. The reason people don't do it typically is it's hard to do loans and real estate at a high level together. Very few people, I know a gal that's doing it here in Dallas. She's doing both and she is just killing it. That's awesome, but it's super rare. So, what I like about this recruiting is on an activity basis, we have our loans or, your deals that you have, on the pipeline or whatever, you're still trying to get other deals. But on an activity basis, you're able to go and garner more interest easier on a daily, hourly basis to recruit than you are to go and get another, transaction. So it's something where you can walk and chew gum at the same time. Focus on your option A, right? You may as well do option A if you're getting your mortgage license. You may be getting, you should be monetizing it immediately. Focus on that. But while you're, walking and chewing gum, while you're rubbing elbows with other loan originators and other real estate people to be having this conversation, just to get their interest peaked a little bit, have them, if you're not confident in presenting it fully, introduce them to me and I'll have that conversation with and for you.
Cool. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. If anybody doesn't know, Jill Warner got a tore her ACL, so she's at the hospital today.
Ouch.
I think she's getting a surgery consultation right now. So hopefully she's back next week. I don't know what she has lined up for content, but when I got a hold of these guys, they got a hold of me. I decided this was something to help give you guys another piece of information to learn. Because well, with Jill not having a planned course that she was able to facilitate, it's just been probably 3 years since I focused on helping agents get mortgage licenses. So I was like, all right, it's good timing. We'll see if we can't get you guys in front of a few people to show them about it. So if anybody wants to, like, I just looked on the CE shop, and if anybody's going to pursue getting a license, yeah, it's, the 20 hours is all I think you probably know a lot of the laws. And then there's probably some specific items that you'd have to learn in their 20-hour course. So, it might be too much on your plate, but it's something to consider. And I know that we probably have 20 people in the company have a license for sure right now. I don't know if all of them are doing the loan themselves, or like if they're using a license to refer the loan and still get like half a point or whatever you can negotiate with somebody, but it's definitely
those
an
folks
option to create more income.
Those folks could consider, if they're doing options A and B, they could add C. So
Yeah, for sure.
A, B, and C.
It's just sitting there. So that's the beauty, because like you can do A or B just like you can do anywhere. And then why not do it somewhere where you can add the option to refer somebody? It's kind of.
And Randy, I'm sure you can share our info, but if anybody's confused or doesn't want to ask a question in front of a large group or whatever, I know Kenny and I are both available to do a one-on-one call, one-on-one Zoom, and like, because Kenny knows,
you guys put your information in the
yeah, I'll pop my cell
box.
phone in here, but Kenny knows I'm kind of a slow learner. And it took me a couple days, and like once I got it, I'm like, oh man. Then I started getting back to him with different ideas. I'm like, wow, I think you're onto something here. So if you kind of like want to break down a little bit more of like how this all works, and it's like option A, B, or C, well, you can do all three together. It's not like or it's like all of them. I'm like, oh, I'll do this loan because it's this person. I know it's going to be easy, and then refer out the other ones. But again, I think the big picture is all the people that's just an easy, like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, well, I love sending my loans to you, but you really got to get over here, and then you end up getting paid, and it kind of like expands or spirals very, very quickly.
Right. I was going to say option A and option B are where we're chasing buckets of money, where we're getting, one big payday. And that's kind of how our business is designed. But option C allows us to get a big stream of income coming in, whether we're closing deals or not. And a big stream of income can also be referred to as early retirement. So the bigger you build that option C, the more options you're going to have, whether you want to take that extra money and catapult to a higher level in real estate, whatever you want to do, you have a lot more options with a lot more financial security and safety. Now I think I can look at I wasn't able to see the chats before. I'm pulling that up right now.
We're talking about you.
I got their information in here if anybody wants to write it down and follow up with them later because they want to get a license. So, has anybody got any questions about general broker stuff or want to ask any of your colleagues here for, I don't know, listing or buyer information or anything, or is everybody set? The reason I ask is just to put a time limit on the meeting. It's been 40 minutes, so we don't want to just start talking in circles. So thanks, Shonda.
One other last thing from me anyways, is there's going to be a ton of ongoing like training or build out that goes along with this. So it's not only like how to get buyers, how to get sellers, how to get recruit, you know, but so that whole aspect, because anything we can do to help your business grow helps everything. So yeah, it's not just like, hey, get your license and you're on your own, right? It's this is how to grow a really big thriving business.
Yeah. So let's go,
Okay.
get back
Yeah,
to
go
work.
ahead. I'm gonna move on to a couple people that are asking for my help in a second. I just, you guys, whatever you want to do to end the call, or I can let you guys just do it and I can mute myself. That's what I'll do.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for all the information. Thanks, Randy, for bringing Kenny and Ryan, and it's great to hear. I know I'll, for one, go back and watch the video over again and just kind of see how it makes sense for me.
Cool.
Yeah, if you got any
Thanks, guys,
specific
for showing the
questions,
information. I mean, nobody knows what they don't know till we know it, right? So this is an option that's viable for people to do.
Thanks again, Randy. These meetings are just incredible. I can't believe what I've missed in the other years. So thanks.
You're welcome. Cool. Well, I suppose that's probably all we have. So if nobody pops anything in the chat box, I'll just wrap up the meeting. And we appreciate everybody for jumping on.
And thank you for all the information. This was very useful. It answered a lot of questions for me.
Awesome. All right, you guys, have a good afternoon. I'll check in with Jill about next week.
Send Jill our best wishes. Get healthy soon.
For sure, I'll do that right now.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks
Randy.
again, Randy. Great meeting.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
see y'all.
I don't know how to end the meeting, so.
You better hire somebody to help you.
Jeremy does that, so you guys want to tell him?
You just hit leave meeting, I believe, at the end, at bottom right. See ya.
I'm actually just.
Thanks, Randy.
All right.
Thanks, Ryan.